Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. After Xiao Yan sent Han Shui out of a clean guest room in the backyard of the Han clan, he shut the door and sighed in relief. Honestly speaking, he really did not wish to get involved with the matter between the Han clan and the Hong clan were it not because of Han Shui and Han Yu. Of course, the reason he spoke was naturally not referring to Han Shui and Han Yu personally. Although the both of them were excellent women, he was not a person whose mind was ruled by another part of his anatomy. Naturally, he never had those thoughts after observing Hong Chen from a distance today. He does indeed have a great strength. He might be an arrogant person, but it is just as the others have said. This fellow does indeed possess the qualification and capital to be arrogant. Xiao Yan came to the side of the bed before sitting cross-legged on it. His face revealed an expression of being in deep thought. The strength of this Han clan is definitely not like what one saw in the hall earlier. According to Xiao Yan's expectations, there were some experts from the older generation hiding behind the scene. After all, for the Han Yang to be able to fight against the Hong clan in Tianbei City, it was impossible that they did not possess an elite dozone. However, from what he saw today, other than Han Kai, who could be vaguely considered someone with half a foot into the dozone class, no one else had reached this stage. If this was the case for the Han clan, even less needed to be said about the Hong clan, which was a little stronger. Xiao Yan had already become enemies with such a faction after just arriving in the Central Plains. He could be considered unlucky. After sighing quietly in his heart, Xiao Yan tossed aside these thoughts. He was not an indecisive person. Moreover, he was clear about his grudges and favors. If there was a favor, he would repay it. If there was a grudge, he would also repay it. Han Shui had rescued him while he felt somewhat apologetic to Han Yu for stealing the treasure. Due to this, Xiao Yang would naturally not reject their requests given his character, even if this meant that the price was to offend that so-called Hong clan. The 3,000 burning flame had sufficient allure to Xiao Yang. As long as he successfully swallowed it after breaking through to the dozone class, he would at least possess the ability to fight a little even if he ended up meeting with the legendary elite dozon. Hence, Xiao Yang must enter the top 10 in order to get the qualification to do so. Xiao Yang inhaled a deep breath of air. His hands also slightly tightened. He was looking forward to the largest gathering in the alchemist world. It was rumored that his teacher had stood at that place back then and ended up becoming Yao Zunsha, who was renowned throughout the continent. Being Yao Lao's disciple, Xiao Yang naturally did not wish to embarrass his teacher's name at that place. Xiao Yang suppressed the many thoughts within his heart. His finger suddenly rubbed that white-colored ring before frowning slightly. Ever since Qian Hua Zunsha had absorbed the soul of the fierce spirit, he had been in a deep slumber. If this former dozon were to wake up, it was likely that he would be a big help to Xiao Yang. Unfortunately, Xiao Yang did not dare use any external strength to wake him from his slumber. Xiao Yang softly sighed. He seemed to have suddenly recalled something as he flipped his hand. A jade bottle with an invisible flame covering it appeared in his hand. One could faintly hear a miserable cry being transmitted from within the jade bottle. The corner of Xiao Yang's mouth contained a coldness. His finger rubbed over the mouth of the bottle before he beckoned to it. An extremely weak spirit slowly rose wrapped in a cluster of invisible flames. Finally, it appeared in front of Xiao Yang. At this moment, Han Feng was extremely weary after being burned by the heart flame for such a long period of time. Xiao Yang's heart flame could cause harm to a spirit. That kind of searing pain that spread out from deep within a spirit was really an unendurable torture to a spiritual body. Have you enjoyed enough? Xiao Yang glanced at the illusionary figure of Han Feng in front of him before asking indifferently. Han Feng's body immediately quivered intensely upon hearing Xiao Yang's voice. There was some additional fear in the vicious eyes he used to look at Xiao Yang. He was really suffering a fate worse than death under the grilling of the heart flame during this period of time. What exactly do you want to do? Just kill me already. Han Feng's voice was so weak that he was nearly on his last breath. Tell me the location where the Hall of Souls has locked up teacher. Xiao Yang spoke in a cold and indifferent voice. You wish to rescue that old fellow? Do you really think that the Hall of Souls is a place that anyone can just enter? Han Feng involuntarily laughed upon hearing his demand. Don't. I'll speak. I'll speak. Han Feng hurriedly endured the searing pain and screamed when he saw that Xiao Yang was planning to store him inside the jade bottle again. Xiao Yang's hand paused. The fallen heart flame slowly dissipated. He glanced at Han Feng and indifferently said, You have one last chance. I have quite a lot of time. The next time I summon you might be half a year or 1 year later. Hopefully, you will not be incinerated into nothingness by the heart flame. The illusionary body of Han Feng immediately trembled violently when he heard these words. A terror flashed across his eyes. A moment later, he finally clenched his teeth and said, Will you allow me to leave if I tell you the location where Yao Chen is being locked up? You do not have the qualification to bargain with me. Xiao Yang's expression turned cold. The fallen heart flame that covered the exterior of Xiao Yang's body was about to be maneuvered again. Stop, I will tell you. The horror in Han Feng's eyes became even denser when he saw this, and he hurriedly said, The Hall of Souls has a branch hall that is located in a city named Ming City in the western region of the Central Plains. Yao Chen is locked up there, western region of the Central Plains, Ming City. Xiao Yang slowly repeated these 2 words in his mouth. An excitement quietly rose in his heart. However, he did not reveal the ripple in his heart when he continued. How many people from the Hall of Souls are guarding that branch hall? It is rumored that there are a couple of protectors. Moreover, there is also an honorable elder. That branch hall is a little more important, hence, the Hall of Souls has dispatched a genuine expert to protect it. Han Feng hesitated for a moment before speaking. Honorable elder? Xiao Yang's expression immediately changed a little when he heard this term. Currently, he was no longer completely ignorant of the Hall of Souls. It was not the first time that he had heard of the term honorable elder. This position was above that of an elder. Moreover, each honorable elder's strength was that of a genuine elite dozan. Could the large hall which I had reached with my spiritual perception through the fire seal back then be Ming City? Could that extremely frightening spiritual strength back then be something unleashed by the guarding honorable elder? Xiao Yang's eyes flickered. The thoughts in his heart were churning like a tide. If this matter is true, it seems that I will need to plan properly. An elite dozan, that is really a little too powerful for the current me. Even if I use the strongest extermination fire lotus, it is likely that I will not cause him much harm. After all, the difference between a dozan and a dozone is really vast. Xiao Yang gently exhaled when he thought until this point. His gaze coldly landed on Han Feng. He immediately waved his hand and the fallen heart flame once again swept over the latter before entering the jade bottle. The flame quickly rose and agglomerated into a fire seal on the mouth of the bottle. Hopefully, what you have said is true. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to die even if you wish to. A bone-chilling voice was emitted from Xiao Yang's mouth and transmitted into that jade bottle, causing Han Feng to violently quiver. 2 days swiftly passed while Xiao Yang was recuperating within the training room. During these 2 days, the Han clan had also prepared all of the medicinal ingredients that Xiao Yang needed. After which, they instructed Han Shui to deliver them to Xiao Yang's room. Xiao Yang shut the door once again after having obtained the medicinal ingredients. Outsiders could only sense the heat that was seeping out of the room. However, due to the order that Han Kai had issued some time ago, no one dared to interrupt Xiao Yang. This allowed him to stay in an extremely quiet training environment. The 3 days limit that the Hong clan had issued had arrived while this door was shut. Compared to the quiet Han Yu, Han Shui was unable to sit still. After seeing that there was not the slightest activity within the room despite having waited for half a day, she involuntarily asked, Why is he not out yet? Today is the 3rd day. Father and the others are all preparing to head to the Skystone stage. Why are you so anxious? Relax, given my understanding of him, he is not the type who has a problem being punctual. Since he has agreed to lend a hand, nothing unexpected will happen no matter what. Han Yu involuntarily covered her mouth and softly laughed when she saw her usually cold and indifferent sister acting in this manner. Han Shui stopped her pacing footsteps when she heard this. She was only quiet for a short while before she suddenly asked again, "Sister, do you think that something could have happened to him? He had suffered an extremely serious injury when I picked him up in the desert back then. He didn't even possess the strength to get up." Han Yu was startled. She raised her head slightly and her pretty face seriously looked at Han Shui's pretty face where a thread of enchantment was present amid its coldness. There seemed to be a hint of worry on it as well. "Sister, what are you looking at?" Han Shui involuntarily spoke in an annoyed manner upon being stared at by Han Yu. "Shui, have you fallen for Xiao Yan?" Han Yu hesitated for a moment before suddenly asking. A fiery redness immediately surged onto Han Shui's pretty face when she heard this. She said in an embarrassed manner, "Sis, what nonsense are you spouting? I have only been acquainted with him for a short while. I am only trying to remind you that Xiao Yang is indeed very outstanding. However, it is very difficult for the heart of such an outstanding man to be retained by someone. Moreover, he also has a girl that he likes." Han Yu spoke in a serious tone. Han Shui lowered her eyes slightly. She turned her head and softly said, "It's not what you think." She was quiet for a moment after her words sounded before she suddenly asked, "Is that girl very outstanding?" Han Yu's delicate hand parted a thread of bright silver hair in front of her forehead. A look of recollection flashed across her pretty eyes. A moment later, she bitterly smiled and said, "She's more than just outstanding. If one were to really talk about it, it is likely that she is the person who hid the deepest among the students of our batch. I once told you about Lin Xiao Ya. He is in existence on the top 3 of the strong ranking. However, he did not even last 10 exchanges in her hands. Moreover, she is a little younger than Xiao Yan. This kind of training talent is really demon-like." Seeing Xiao Yan completely familiar with the route and looking as though he was in his own home, both Han Yu and Han Shui involuntarily muttered to themselves. After which, they ran a little and swiftly followed. The Skystone stage sat in the middle of Tianbei City. Its size was around 1,000 feet or so. If one were to carefully look at it, one would discover that this Skystone stage was completely built on an enormous rock. This enormous rock had existed since the Tianbei City first built the stage. It allowed time to corrode it, but hardly any trace of this corrosion remained. This place was also the place where the most attention in the Tianbei City was being placed. This was because every time some faction had a conflict, but did not wish to engage in a war, they would choose to have a match on it. The Skystone stage today was undoubtedly the most heated it had been during these 2 years because the ones who were going to have a showdown on the stage were the 2 main factions in the Tianbei City, the Hong and Han clan. Moreover, according to the rumors, the one who was fighting for the Hong clan was Hong Chen, who had been accepted as a disciple to the Wind Lightning Pavilion. The citizens of the Tianbei City were quite familiar with this name. This person had always been arrogant. However, he had displayed a shocking talent since he was young. After growing up, he caught the eye of the Wind Lightning Pavilion. It could be said that Hong Chen had lived these years in glory. The aura of a genius had never disappeared from him. If one were to talk about it, if Xiao Yang did not experience that occurrence when he was young, it was likely that his training path would be similar to Hong Chen's path. In the future, Xiao Yang might have even caught the eye of the largest sect in the Jiomar Empire, the Misty Cloud sect, because of his outstanding training talent, and would have ended up becoming one of its members. However, the appearance of Yao Lao had changed his route. It was such a route that it allowed Xiao Yang to walk until today, reaching such a high level. The surroundings of the Skystone stage were densely packed seats that had been carved from that enormous rock. At this moment, these seats were flooded with numerous black masses of human heads. This time around, the exchange between the Hong and Han clan had attracted the eyes of the entire Tianbei City. Hong clan's head has thought too much. Since the Hong clan is willing to maintain 10 years of peace with our Han clan, we will naturally have to receive it. Otherwise, we would be letting down the good intentions of the Hong clan. Han Kai raised his eyes and spoke indifferently. "That is the clan head of the Hong clan, Hong Li." A soft voice that carried a serene fragrance was transmitted into Xiao Yang's ear. He turned to take a look and found that it was Han Shui. "I'm afraid that before you have received my good intentions, you will have lost your daughter." "Ha ha, but you need not worry, I will be extremely tolerant to the daughter-in-law of my Hong clan." Hong Li coldly laughed. All right, let's not waste our breath. I don't have much time and will need to return to the northern pavilion to train during these 2 days. Hong Chen frowned and stood up. His body shook and a faint thunderous roar sounded. His body appeared on the spacious stone stage below in a ghost-like manner. His gaze was arrogant as he looked at the Han clan seats and cried, "There is no need to be so long-winded. We will talk after we have fought. Who is coming to face me?" The gazes of the entire place instantly turned to the spot where the seats of the Han clan were located upon hearing Hong Chen's cry. Finally, they remained on Han Yu. It seemed that she was the only one among the younger generation of the Han clan who had entered the Do Huang class. Han Yu merely smiled sweetly while being under the focus of all the eyes present. She immediately shook her head slightly and her delicate finger pointed to a spot beside her. Her clear moving voice reverberated over the entire arena. "His opponent is not me. It's him." A countless number of gazes suddenly shifted. Finally, they paused on an unfamiliar young man in the Han clan seats who was wearing an ordinary linen clothes. Everyone was instantly stunned. Hong Chen's eyes were somewhat dark and cold as they were thrown at Xiao Yan. The arrogance and belittlement in his eyes was not even slightly hidden. "Even if you wanted to find someone to die for you, you should have found a decent one, no?" Xiao Yan merely smiled when he heard the cold laughter and disdain that was transmitted from Hong Chen's mouth. His smile contained a faint chillness. The Han clan should have a reason behind their actions. After all, this match concerns the rest of Han Yu's life. Private conversations around the arena suddenly sounded the moment Xiao Yan appeared. Numerous shocked gazes repeatedly swept over his body. Hong Li's brows were knitted slightly as he looked at the unfamiliar Xiao Yan from the seats of the Hong clan. With his understanding of the Han clan, the other party would definitely not randomly find someone to die for them in this kind of situation. However, if this was not the case, could this young man really contend with Hong Chen? There was an old man wearing grey-colored robes beside Hong Li. The old man had his eyes shut, seemingly ignoring the noise of the outside world. His hands were hidden under his sleeves while his body leaned against the backrest of the chair. There was a green silver-colored badge on his chest. A tower with a faint lightning glow lingering over it was drawn on the badge. The old man opened his shut eyes upon hearing Hong Li's words. He glanced at Xiao Yan before using a hoarse voice to faintly speak. "This little fellow is also very strong. I wonder where the Han clan found such a helper. Oh? Will Hong Chen be able to defeat him?" Hong Li became a little stern upon hearing this. By being able to get this old fellow to evaluate him like this, it seemed that this young man with an ordinary appearance was really not a scapegoat that the Han clan had sent out. "Most of the high-class Do techniques of my Wind Lightning Pavilion has been learned by Hong Chen. Moreover, the Qi method which he practices is also a top Qi method of my Wind Lightning Pavilion. Forget about those of similar levels. His fighting strength could fight with even experts at the peak of the Do Huang class. There are indeed people of the same generation who could defeat him in the Central Plains. However, such a person has not appeared in Tianbei City." The old man once again slowly shut his eyes upon saying these words. Magic Hong Li's heart sighed in relief after hearing the grey-robed old man speak in this manner. His face revealed a cold smile. He wanted to see just how ugly the expression on Han Kai's face would be after being defeated. Hong Che's eyes lazily swept over Xiao Yang on the enormous stone arena. He said, "Tell me your name." Xiao Yang smiled. He ignored this fellow's arrogant words and softly laughed. "A nameless individual, Xiao Yang, who cannot be compared with the great reputation of young Master Hong Chen. Don't pay lip service to this father of yours. I will give you 10 breaths time to decide if you wish to get lost by yourself or for me to turn you into a cripple and toss you away." Hong Chen's face turned cold as he cried out, "There is no need for 10 breaths. Let's just fight." Xiao Yang shook his head. His face was completely harmless. This Hong Chen was indeed as arrogant as the people around had described. Hong Chen's eyes turned gloomy. He stared at Xiao Yang sinisterly and said, "Since you wish to seek death, do not blame this young master for not showing mercy." Numerous lightning glows suddenly surged from Hong Chen's body the moment his voice sounded. Finally, they transformed into a layer of lightning glow that wrapped around his entire body. Lightning Do Chi. Xiao Yan looked at the deep silver-colored Do Chi that covered Hong Chen. Countless numbers of silver snakes of lightning leaped in all directions. Clearly, this fellow practiced a lightning affinity chi method that was known for its powerful offensive strength. Remember my name, Hong Chen. Being defeated by my hands will be your honor. Hong Chen gave a sneer and suddenly stomped down. A lightning bolt the size of an arm shot towards Xiao Yan from the ground, moving like a snake. You have some skill. Surprise also surfaced on Hong Chen's face when his attack was stopped. Suddenly he cried out coldly, "Try the Wind Lightning Pavilion's Wind Lightning Claw." The cry had just sounded when a lightning glow surged on his hand claw. A couple of lightning glows bent in a strange manner before agglomerating into an extremely sharp lightning claw above his finger. Hong Chen cried out furiously when the hand claw was formed. The energy on the hand claw soared and it forced Xiao Yan's fingers back. The hand claw carried an extremely sharp lightning strength as it furiously hacked down. This hacking tore the air apart. A blurry silver-colored hand claw afterimage appeared in the sky. Xiao Yan also felt somewhat surprised in his heart upon sensing the sharpness of the wind claw. His fingers changed swiftly before he suddenly clenched his hand. Immediately, jade green Do Chi carrying a thread of flame appeared and violently collided with Hong Chen. Bang! Hong Chen's body was a little dull when this deep sound appeared. He swiftly recovered and a fierceness flashed across his eyes. The two claws suddenly danced and numerous after-images appeared in a dazzling manner. The sharp wind from the claws swiftly covered Xiao Yan's entire body. A whistling sound appeared and repeatedly reverberated over the arena. Xiao Yan's expression remained impassive in the face of this wild and violent attack by Hong Chen. His hand was curled and immediately formed a defense in front of his body. With the help of his spiritual perception, the genuine attacks of Hong Chen did not escape Xiao Yan's detection regardless of how fast the attacking speed was. Hence, each time a claw wind, that contained a killing intent, headed over, it would be violently sent back by Xiao Yan with a punch. Both parties' claws and fists repeatedly formed numerous afterimages in front of them. This caused the countless number of people watching the stage to exclaim out loud. No one expected that Xiao Yan would be able to remain undefeated after having so many exchanges with Hong Chen. Wind lightning kill. A serious expression finally surfaced in Hong Chen's eyes after his attacks were blocked many times. The underestimation in his heart was also lessened a little. His claw immediately changed as he let out a furious cry. A faint lightning roar suddenly sounded. The many hand claw afterimages suddenly stilled at this moment before swiftly shrinking back. Within a short period of time, a hand claw covered by a dense lightning claw strangely appeared along with a faint thunder roar. It carried a lightning-like momentum as it violently grabbed at Xiao Yan's heart. From the look of this momentum, it was likely that Xiao Yan's heart would be dug out if he was struck. Xiao Yan exhaled gently before taking a step back. A stern coldness suddenly surged into his dark black eyes. An incomparably powerful Do Chi surged out like floodwaters from within his body in all directions. At this moment, Xiao Yan had completely displayed his 7-star Do Huang strength. The expressions of the countless of people present changed upon sensing the powerful Do Chi that suddenly surged out of Xiao Yan's body. An exclamation resounded like a wave. Do Huang? This person's strength is likely even stronger than Han Yu from the Han clan, right? No wonder. Xiao Yan clenched his fist tightly as the Do Chi surged. It paused for a moment before it was instantly thrown out. Octane blast. The strength of the fist suddenly soared by a couple of times while it was still traveling. An ear-piercing sonic boom resounded around the fist. The fist violently collided with Hong Chen's lightning claw amid many shocked eyes. A countless number of gazes slid away after lingering on Hong Chen for a moment. All of them paused on the young man who had merely taken 2 steps back. The shock within their eyes grew even denser. This person had actually gained the upper hand in a head-on collision with Hong Chen? Just what great being was this fellow? Xiao Yan waved his sleeves gently and his finger pressed on his arm in a lightning-like manner. The finger was flicked and a wild and violent lightning strength was tossed out of his body. You actually think that this little lightning hidden force would be able to harm me? Hong Chen, who had stabilized his body, currently possessed an unusually sinister face. He looked at Xiao Yang in a gloomy manner and said, "Unexpectedly, you are also a 7-star Do Huang. You have hidden quite deeply. No wonder the Han clan has looked for you. You do possess the qualification to be my opponent, but the strength that you have displayed is far from sufficient if you wish to beat me." A low, deep roar was suddenly emitted from Hong Chen's throat when his voice sounded. Immediately, a crackling sound appeared from within his body. Countless silver snake-like lightning bolts extended from his bones, wrapping him within a layer of lightning. Being within a lightning web, Hong Chen's aura also swiftly soared. "Seeing that you are able to force back this young master, I shall let you take a look at the secret technique of the Wind Lightning Pavilion today." Lightning God descend. Hong Chen's feet suddenly stomped down and countless numbers of silver snakes surged out from under his feet. Within a short instant, it permeated the area within a radius of hundreds of feet. Hong Chen, who was within it, appeared like a lightning god. His aura was terrifying. The expressions of everyone in the Han clan changed when they saw that Hong Chen had actually used the lightning god descend. Han Shui and Han Yu also exchanged looks. They were able to see a little worry from the other party's eyes. However, when their gazes looked to Xiao Yang, they merely saw him with his usual calmness. His emotions did not sway even a little because of Hong Chen's transformation. This metal hammer was a treasure of the Wind Lightning Pavilion. It was named the Mighty Lightning Hammer. Its body had been created using lightning stones. If a person who practiced a lightning chi method used it, that person's do chi would experience a strengthening effect. Adding that the lightning stone were naturally heavy, it was filled with strength when one swung it. An ordinary expert would not dare to receive it head-on. A stern expression flashed through Hong Chen's eyes as he held the mighty lightning hammer. He randomly swung it a couple of times and it was accompanied by an ear-piercing sonic boom. The sonic boom was transmitted to the ground and a couple of holes formed in the hard arena again. Hong Chen sensed the strength surging within his body before staring at Xiao Yang with dense, cold eyes. He eventually cried out in a cold voice. Xiao Yang frowned slightly upon looking at the completely armed Hong Chen. After using a secret technique, his strength had almost reached that of a 9-star Do Huang. Looking at this, the effects of this secret technique were indeed quite good. Moreover, from their earlier collision, Xiao Yang was able to sense that the Qi method Hong Chen practiced was definitely a DI-class Qi method. Otherwise, he would not have just taken over a dozen steps back after receiving his Octane Blast head-on. This person possessed a top-quality Qi method, Do technique and weapon. His fighting strength was naturally shocking. Given this person's strength, it should not be difficult for him to challenge someone above his level. Forget about someone from the same level, it was likely that he could even fight with an expert at the peak of the Do Huang class. No wonder he dared to be this arrogant. If it was someone else from the same generation who met Hong Chen today, it was likely that this person would have difficulty fighting with Hong Chen unless that person possessed some special trump card. Unfortunately, Xiao Yang was not included in these people from the same generation. Challenging someone above one's level might be a difficult matter to some people. However, it was an extremely common thing for Xiao Yang, who had once turned that old ground demon ghost, possessing an unfathomable strength, into a crippled state. Hong Chen might be able to fight across levels, but he was not able to fight across classes. Fighting across levels and fighting across classes might only possess a one-word difference, but they were two completely different concepts. They were also completely two different realms of strength. The gazes all over the place gathered on this battle that was gradually entering its main event. The sudden increase in Han Chen's strength caused quite a number of people to quietly click their tongues. This Wind Lightning Pavilion was indeed worthy of being a faction that could be ranked in the Central Plains. A secret technique was actually able to allow one to raise one's strength this greatly. Xiao Yang smiled in front of the countless number of gazes. He slowly clenched his hand and an enormous heavy Xian ruler appeared. The heavy ruler was inserted into the ground and its wide body appeared just like a dark black shield. Its heavy feeling was something that even Hong Chen's mighty lightning hammer could not compare with. Magic surprise flashed across Hong Chen's eyes when he saw Xiao Yan draw a heavy ruler as a weapon. The cold smile on the corner of his mouth grew even denser. After having displayed the lightning god descend, his strength had been strengthened quite greatly. If his opponent was the agile type, he would still be faced with some trouble. However, if his opponent also used a heavy-type weapon, that person would not possess the ability to retaliate in the face of the dancing mighty lightning hammer. Brat, I shall let you see the Wind Lightning Pavilion Wind Lightning Hammer skill. You should take a detour when you see the members of the Wind Lightning Pavilion in the future. Hong Chen parted his mouth while facing Xiao Yan, revealing his dense teeth. His feet abruptly stomped on the ground and the sound of a thunderous roar rang out. Immediately, his body shook. Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed slightly the moment that Hong Chen's body moved. He was only too familiar with this scene. The corner of Xiao Yan's mouth was lifted into an arc. His hand grabbed the heavy ruler tightly and violently swung it to his back without turning his head around. The heavy ruler carried a powerful pressurizing wind while the sound of a sonic boom repeatedly resounded around the ruler. When the ruler had just reached Xiao Yan's back, an enormous, dark black hammer suddenly appeared before being blocked by the ruler. The heavy ruler collided with the enormous hammer and a metallic sound resounded over the entire arena. Both Xiao Yan and Hong Chen swiftly pulled away and formed a safe distance between them in a lightning-like manner. Good brat, you are actually able to see through the afterimages of my 3000 lightning movement. Hong Chen stabilized his body and glanced at the disappearing afterimage in the distance. His heart was involuntarily a little surprised. When Xiao Yan waved his heavy ruler earlier, it seemed that Xiao Yan had a great understanding of Hong Chen's position. The ruler did not hesitate when it was swung, forcing Hong Chen to reveal himself. Looks like I need to finish this fellow off quickly. There is a time limit to the lightning god descend. At that time, my body will enter a weary period. A thought flashed across Hong Chen's heart while some killing intent flashed across his eyes. His body moved and a thunderous sound once again appeared. His body transformed into a lightning bolt that crossed the dozens of meters distance in a lightning-like manner. With a leap, his body appeared above Xiao Yan's head, thousand-shattering lightning hammer. Six-joint body flowing ruler. Xiao Yan's eyes solidified slightly as he sensed the frightening lightning that shot down explosively from all directions. The heavy ruler in his hand danced in a lightning-like manner as numerous rulers' images followed a profound path and swiftly transformed into ruler shadows, which wind could not even penetrate. Some jade-green flames quietly rose in the defense of the ruler's shadow. The ruler's shadow defense had just been formed when the enormous lightning hammer came smashing down. After which, it violently crushed the ruler's shadow. Immediately, countless number of ruler's shadow scattered. However, the ruler's shadow had just disappeared when a densely packed unending amount of ruler's shadows swiftly replaced them. Following the repeated appearance of this ruler's shadow, the enormous lightning hammer also became a little illusionary. The great amount of lightning strength on it was swiftly being dispelled. Thousand-shattering lightning hammer, shatter. Hong Chen's expression sank a little as he sensed the great defensive strength of Xiao Yan's ruler's shadows. He immediately let out a furious cry and the lightning hammer in his hand shot out. His body swiftly pulled back, boom. The lightning hammer exploded almost instantaneously the moment it left Hong Chen's hand. Innumerable amounts of lightning strength smashed into the ruler's shadow defense from all directions. The ruler's shadow defense swiftly became thinner under this extremely closely packed attack. It was no longer able to replenish itself in time. Ha ha, I will see just how you will dispel the special wind lightning strength of my wind lightning pavilion. Hong Chen's body turned around and landed on the ground. After which, he looked at Xiao Yan, who was surrounded by the silver-colored wind lightning strength, before laughing out loud. Just what is there to be arrogant about, mere wind lightning strength? A cold laugh was transmitted from the lightning web just after Hong Chen's laughter sounded. Immediately, a jade-green flame erupted in a sudden manner. Under this flame, that wind lightning strength seemed to have met its nemesis as it was swiftly vaporized by the high temperature into nothingness. After an instant, the lightning web that contained a wild and violent strength completely scattered in front of many stunned gazes. This is a heavenly flame? While the flame was surging, the grey-clothed, old man on the Hong clan's seat suddenly opened his eyes and exclaimed, A human figure which was completely wrapped in a jade-green flame slowly walked forward in the arena below in front of a countless number of gazes. One could even vaguely see that skinny figure within it. Are these your tactics? I really overestimated you. The flame churned repeatedly on Xiao Yan's body as a faint voice was slowly emitted. Hong Chen's expression immediately turned ugly upon hearing this. He tightened his grip on the mighty lightning hammer in his hand. Finally, he understood just how troublesome his opponent was this time around. He could not even imagine that he had failed to defeat his opponent after displaying the lightning god descend. If you only have these tactics, it will be my turn next. A cold smile was lifted on the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth as he stood within the flame. His seal suddenly changed as a low cry resounded in his heart. Skyfire 3 mysterious change, glazed change. What a powerful secret technique. This increase in strength is something that even the lightning god descent of the wind lightning pavilion could not be compared with. Looks like Shui has really invited quite an incredible being. Han Kai looked at Xiao Yan, whose aura was vaguely similar to his, from the Han clan seats. Surprise involuntarily surfaced on his face as he smiled and spoke to himself. When he was in the inner academy back then, he had dared to intervene in a battle between Do Hongs when he was still an ordinary Da dosha. Now that a couple of years have passed, his achievements would naturally be even more terrifying. Although Hong Chen is a genius, he is inferior in front of Xiao Yan. Han Yu smiled sweetly as she explained. She also rejoiced upon seeing Xiao Yan getting the upper hand. After all, this was related to her marriage. It would be a lie if she said she was not nervous. Han Shui by the side also softly laughed when she heard what Han Kai had said. Her pretty eyes stared at the linen-clothed young man in the arena. Those clothes that were usually extremely ordinary-looking gave her a feeling of a special yet ordinary vigor when they were worn by him. It was just like a peerless sword that was hidden within an ordinary scabbard, emitting a sharp sword aura that caused one to be afraid. The young man currently in the arena was undoubtedly the most dazzling existence on the Skystone stage. Xiao Yan let in a long breath as he sensed the surging strength within his body. Borrowing the effects of the secret technique, he had already reached the peak of the Do Huang class. During this instant, he seemed to have vaguely sensed a non-existent film layer. This film layer did not appear to exist. However, regardless of how the strength in his body climbed, he ultimately had difficulty touching it. There was no need to even discuss breaking through it. Could this be the barrier to break through to the Do Zone class? Xiao Yang thought deeply while he muttered to himself in a soft voice. After the brief experiment, he was vaguely aware that the Do Chi needed to break through to the Do Zone class would definitely be an extremely frightening amount. Even though he was currently at the peak of the Do Huang class, there was still an extremely great distance to that stage. This small step was something that many experts were unable to leap past during their lives. One could imagine the difficulty involved. If I am in possession of the last two changes of the Skyfire mysterious change at this moment and use them in collaboration with the heavenly flame, would I be able to break through that barrier? Xiao Yan's eyes flickered while his heart felt a little boiling hot. This method might really be of some use. If he had the time in the future, he might be able to give it a try. Xiao Yan swiftly pulled his mind back to reality as this thought flashed through his heart. He slowly raised his head and smiled at the solemn-faced Hong Chen on the opposite side. His hand immediately held his heavy ruler tightly as his foot stepped forward. With a step, he had nearly flashed over hundreds of feet. Two human figures flashed repeatedly on the arena. The speed of the two was extremely great. An ordinary person was only able to hear the repeated sounds of weapons clashing and the sparks that erupted from them. Only those people with sharp eyes were able to find the bodies of the two people. At this moment, the situation in the arena was one where Hong Chen had gradually fallen into a disadvantage after Xiao Yang had used the Skyfire 3 mysterious change. His Do Chi was not as powerful as Xiao Yang's. When comparing agility, Xiao Yang was able to rely on his spiritual perception to identify the position of Hong Chen at any time. If it was in terms of physical strength, Xiao Yang's body was far stronger than Hong Chen after having been refined by many natural treasures and the heavenly flames. How could Hong Chen fight with Xiao Yang in this situation where he was always at a disadvantage? Any sharp-eyed people could tell that the chances of Hong Chen winning in this kind of situation were already beginning to sharply decline. The people from the Han and Hong clan were naturally among those who could sense such a situation. The Han clan members were revealing a dense smile while the Hong clan members were becoming gloomy. They had full confidence in Hong Chen. This confidence originated from his performance over the years and ability. However, they had never imagined that the Han clan would find an expert who could really contend with Hong Chen or was even stronger than him. This had caught them by surprise. Chiong, the heavy ruler and the metal hammer once again violently collided. Xiao Yan's eyes turned slightly cold. His arm was like a snake as it was twisted in a strange fashion before suddenly appearing in front of Hong Chen. Xiao Yan's palm smashed down and struck Hong Chen's chest in a lightning-like manner. Grug. A powerful force immediately swept over Hong Lai's body like floodwater as the palm fell. His face turned white and a mouthful of fresh blood was spat out. His body suddenly shot backwards, dragging over the ground and forming a scar that was over a dozen meters in length. Only then did his body slowly stop. The sudden change in the arena also caused an exclamation to break out all around them. It was the first time that a person had really spit out blood and become injured since both parties had begun to fight. Moreover, the shock on their faces became even denser when they saw that the person, who had been forced back after being injured, was Hong Chen. With the battle having continued until such a stage, some people who had observed carefully had discovered that Hong Chen had not even touched Xiao Yan's clothes since the beginning. Yet, Hong Chen had already ended up in an exceptionally miserable state. Xiao Yan raised his eyes slightly after forcing Hong Chen back with a palm. He glanced at Hong Chen on the ground in the distance and faintly said, "Stand up, that palm won't take your life." The grey-clothed, old man shook slightly when his words reached this point. Immediately, he muttered, "Unless Miss Feng is the one fighting." Hong Lai's body immediately stiffened when he heard this. His suppressed voice spoke with shock. "Miss Feng? Old Huan, are you referring to that Miss Feng who was the only one in the Wind Lightning Pavilion within the last 100 years who had passed through the Sky Lightning Tower test?" The grey-clothed, old man nodded indifferently. He did not say anything else as his eyes looked at the arena. The do-chi within Hong Chen's body in the arena was completely poured into the mighty lightning hammer. A lightning glow that was over 100 feet in size lingered over him, wrapping his entire body within it, exterminating lightning hammer. A hoarse voice was suddenly emitted from within the lightning glow. Immediately, the mighty lightning hammer in Hong Chen's hand appeared like an enormous sky lightning that violently smashed into the ground. At that instant, the entire Skystone stage began to shake in an intense manner. Ao! The mighty lightning hammer smashed heavily onto the ground. Enormous cracks repeatedly spread out. Immediately, a lightning glow that was over 100 feet in size transformed into a savage lightning beast that shook the ground and formed many cracks the moment its forelimbs landed on the ground. After taking a couple of steps in this manner, it appeared above Xiao Yan's head like lightning. A soul-stirring roar sounded and its claw, which was agglomerated from lightning, violently smashed towards Xiao Yan's head. Space became distorted with this attack. Threads of dark black spatial lines had even vaguely appeared. This force was indeed terrifying. Faced with this savage lightning beast's frightening speed and attack, Xiao Yan also felt a little surprised in his heart. A silver glow suddenly appeared under his feet. Immediately, his body let out a "shio" sound, transforming into numerous after-images as he withdrew, easily dodging the lightning beast's lightning-like attack. However, Xiao Yan appeared to have thought of something after having withdrawn for a short distance. He suddenly stopped his body while his heart cried out, "This is bad." The instant Xiao Yan's body stopped, the grey-clothed, old man in the Hong clan seat suddenly widened his eyes. He immediately stood up in shock. His clothes moved in the absence of the wind as his gaze stared intently at Xiao Yan. Each of his words was spoke with a pause. 3,000 lightning movement? This video will end here. Thank you for watching.